Welcome to Apple Consulting's Central Reach Learn platform. In this lesson, we'll learn how to run a session using our electronic data management data sheet. So from your dashboard, you're going to navigate to the Learn or Program Book icon in your navigation bar. You're going to click on Clinical, then click on Sessions. And in front of you, you will have the data sheets for all of the clients that you're connected to. Today we're going to be working with John Doe, so I'm going to look for John Doe or Joe Doe for his initials. And I'm going to click on that data sheet. And here we have a view of what our data sheet looks like. And let's look at some of the components of what this data sheet is. So to the left we have a column, and it identifies in the upper left whose data sheet it is. And then it has a start and a stop button because in your sessions you're actually going to go live, quote unquote, by pressing a play button in order to say that you're starting your session. Then under here we have the index view, or a view of all the targets that are in your data sheet. So we have tantruming. And if you see, tantruming is a behavior, and so your behaviors are most always going to be down at the bottom here, where you have tantruming, verbal aggression, because those are really important items that we want to have available to us at all times. So that's going to be at the bottom. But you also have just a view of all the targets that are in the particular session from the index view. From the tree view, it's actually going to show you the targets on the data sheet from the actual program notebook level. So in the domain of behavior, we have tantruming, verbal aggression, physical aggression, flexibility, etc. Social communication, we have action ID, and we can access those that way. Here we have in the second column, this is actually where we're collecting our data. This is where we have what's called the index NET view. And that's the one that we're going to be using 100% of the time, and that's what you will see. And so this is actually where you put in the score for your client. So if the client had 80%, you just type in the score 80%. And so if you scroll down, you'll see all the different items that are in this particular data sheet. You keep going down and it shows more and more as you go down. So the other thing that you should notice is that it tells you what level it's in, whether it's in the maintenance level or the generalization or the baseline level, to the upper right hand corner of each program target. So here we see maintenance, here we see maintenance, maintenance, baseline, baseline, and so on and so forth. The other view over here, the third column, is actually a graph. It will show the last 3 data points. It'll tell you the current phase that it's in, baseline. It'll tell you the last graphed data point, which in this one, it doesn't look like it's been done yet because it's in baseline. Last graphed by. And then the great thing about this column as well is where we used to have program notebooks with instructional notes. Our instructional notes for our programs can be found in this third column. So it's really easy to see that it's the same format as in the Apple paper documents. It has materials, what's the SD, what's the response, what's the consequence, and you can look that up easily. The other thing that you can do is you can you can hide columns. So if I want to hide the left column for any reason and I want the index view where I'm collecting the data to be more salient, I simply click on the arrow and it's gone. Same thing with the third column. I click on the arrow and all I see here are the items that are available for data collection on our data sheet. So I'm going to click back on here and click back here, and then you'll see that they all come back. Data collection in the session is very easy. All you have to do is when you start, you press the play button over on the upper left-hand corner. And then you go into the index view, the second column, and you start putting in your data for that particular session. And remember, most of the time at Apple, we are only adding in the data for our probes. So if we have a probe here on flexibility with object placement, and the child got 80%, put in 80. And we have the option of two ways of graphing. If for some reason we want to graph it right away because we want to move to the next set, then we're going to go to the right here and click Graph Target. And what that did with, because it was maintenance and they met criteria, it removed it from the data sheet. What you also can do is you can graph it individually, or you can wait until the end of your session. And let's say got 70 here for maintenance, emotion ID 65. So we're just putting in the score. And again, just for the items that are probes. And so this one, cause and effect, was a teaching day, so we're not going to graph it. Attending and sustained engagement and intervention got 100%, and so on and so forth. And the other way to graph is at the end of your session, you can click Graph All in the upper left-hand corner between the pause and the stop button. And then it's going to show you targets with data collected. So it's going to ask you, do you want to graph these targets with data collected? Then it's also going to tell you that any targets that cannot be graphed yet. So it's going to be talking about anything that needs to have the minimum number of trials, which can often be found in chaining, but that's pretty much the only place that you'll see it is in the chaining programs. And targets with no data collected. So this is when perhaps you have behavior and verbal aggression frequency was 0. Then you're going to want to make sure that's graphed. So verbal aggression, the frequency was 0. You actually want to have that graphed. And maybe physical aggression, the frequency was 0, and you want to graph that as well. Otherwise, everything else was probably a prompting day, and you're not going to record that in your Learn session. Then you click Graph All. And then once you're finished with the session, you click the Stop button, the End Session button, and you click Yes. And that's how you complete data collection for a Learn session. Another benefit of the session is the ability to add comments to any of your program targets or learning trees. In order to access the comments area, you're going to go to the third column and you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there's a place where it says Add Comment. So you can type in a comment, something about was very upset about a certain emotion, today, whatever it is that you want to type, and you press enter to save it. And then what you'll notice is that if there are any comments from others or from yourself, there'll be an alert on that actual target, so that when you come into a session, you can look at any comments that somebody made, make any comments maybe that your supervisor made regarding that particular item. Additionally, on your data sheet or session, you may see a notes area or communication log area, as you see right here, for adding comments. So this is typically seen at the very top of your index view. You may have to take a look and scroll down a little bit. Sometimes supervisors use it, sometimes they do not. You can always request for a supervisor to use it, and this allows you to make general comments about how the session went, or communicate any changes that have happened or anything that's not specifically target related.